When you first talked about the weekend, oh no, the Brain Dead video, you talked about Greg wanted to come film you to get some like female representation in the video, and you were excited about
Mhm.
that. And you also spoke about like looking back on your clips from a couple years ago, and like you kind of look back on it and you're like, oh, I'm like so much better of a skater now. Like, do you feel pressure now that you're in these videos and everything, and that Greg straight up said that to you, we need a female representation or we want a female representation? Do you feel like a little bit of pressure to represent female skaters now more that you're in these videos and in these projects? Like, would you focus on that more than like your actual skill as a skater, or are you trying to like bring them both up? Like, how do those work now that you're part of these projects?
I suppose I'm like keeping both of them in mind, but it's all a personal journey. And it's, people reaching out to me, wanting me to be part of that. Um, that's just them seeing me as a person of my growth. And I do love being a, like a female in this community. It's, there's a lot of negatives as well, but the positives have been really rewarding. I've had people come up to me and, people I've never met before come up to me and say like that I've inspired them or that they started skating because they saw me, and that's like something that's a feeling that I never ever thought that I could give someone or help someone achieve, of like, pushing them to try something new because they see someone else making it in that, um, in that field. Uh, I get support from, new skaters, older skaters, and I wouldn't say that that's necessarily just because I'm a female, um, but also it helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we spoke about it on the show before too, like how skate videos back in the day used to be skating was like all about hammers and stunts and who could jump off the biggest roof and do the biggest rails, but that was kind of intimidating, especially for new skaters. And we've had new skaters on the show before. I mean, not new skaters, but skaters on the show before who grew up and like their first video was like KFC 3 or something insane with like the craziest skating from like Chris Heffy, Alex Brosco, like Chris Farmer, like wild shit. And like that's not really, even though it's cool to watch, it's not really welcoming because you can't really put yourself in those shoes as a beginner skater. But like watching
Mhm.
people who have only been skating for a couple years, it is more like relatable for a lot of people to get into it rather than envisioning themselves off the bat throwing themselves down like a set of stairs or a rail or whatever it is. Like being able to cruise around, make it look good. That is more relatable and will welcome a lot more people into skating.
Yeah, and what Billy said earlier was really great about, I didn't really think about it like this, but yeah, my skating has been documented like professionally for since basically the beginning of skating, and that I think also gives new skaters and people a good idea of like what they can achieve in a, in what time frame, and step by step, like, oh, like this person can do this, like I can do this, like that's great, like if this person can like get to this point in that time, like I can get to this point in that time. And I feel like that can be really encouraging for people as well.
I like what you
Def-
said. Yeah, my bad, Billy. I just want to say I like what you said before earlier too. Same thing. Like Billy mentioned it also. Your skating is documented, and I love that about skating in general because it's kind of natural for us, even when we were kids, to have a camera out of some sort, taking pictures, taking videos. Now with cell phones, it's obviously way easier than that. But it's cool because most people who have other hobbies or have no hobbies at all don't have their lives documented like we do. So it's cool to be able to look back on that, and you'll be looking back on your skating every year and being like, damn, like you could be embarrassed by it, you could think it's cool, but like that's completely part of the game right there. And it shows that you're growing as a skater because you look back on yourself and be like, oh, I've gotten so much better since then. Like I do this so much different. Like I wish I could have done this better, but fuck it, you do it in the next video even better. And then it shows your progression right there.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's, I mean, with all the, all the documentation, there's also like, you know, sides that people don't see, where I'm not skating every single day. I'm not even skating every week right now. I'm doing as much as I can with my work schedule, with just life schedule. But there have been plenty of times where I'm in like a what feels like a long-term skate funk where I don't feel like I'm progressing. So I think it's important to see that side as well. But yeah, the documentation of like, the progression from year one to year three, like people see people see that progression, but they also, have to realize like what's behind what's not being filmed, or what's being filmed and what's being thrown away, because it's like there's, you can be really critical of yourself. Like what Billy was saying about like the negative stuff that I've like how I deal with that. Like it has hit hard. Um, but I just want to be like encouraging to people, to keep going. Like it will be hard and like it will get hard, but then there will be times where it'll be like really good and it'll get really good and really better, and you'll feel that. Yeah, that's
Yeah, no, I gotta say when you mention that, like, there's some negative aspects as well as the positive aspects. It's a little disappointing. It's hard for me to hear. I think it's a little disappointing because we come from a community that has historically been hated on by so many different other subcultures. Like, you know what I mean? Like skateboarders in the past, we've come a long way. I think we're way past it. But like in the 90s, and there was like homophobic like attacks, like violence at skate parks, even for some people's experiences, and like kind of like the butt of like all the cultural jokes would come down to rollerblading. So to see some rollerbladers engage in some of that behavior is like not only confusing to me, but it's like pretty disappointing. All I can say is I hope that your positive experiences outweighed your negative experience. I guess everything's going to have an element of negativity, and perhaps more you than anyone else, because you've kind of exposed yourself in this way that many haven't. Most like wait, kind of like get to like the point where they're, like, and like you said, you've been documented from the beginning. So you've kind of been in this vulnerable position from the beginning. I would like to discourage those who are kind of putting out this kind of negativity, if it is happening, but which it sounds like it is. But
get out of here with your negativity.
Was
that Billy from last week? Where's that Billy from last week?
Well, listen, don't get me started. But is the would you think that the positive outweighs the negative in this world?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't want to keep doing it if it didn't. It's always, I think it's always going to, at this point in skating for me, it's always going to outweigh the negative. Just because, I see how much I've progressed. I see how much time I put into it. I see it, it can't all be for nothing. So I can't let, negative comments or, any negativity from people, like it just can't affect me like that. I just can't let it affect me like that, because I've worked so hard for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I think like if you, I think alone in the relationships that you've developed, that will likely be long lasting friendships and bonds, that in and of itself, the positive already does outweigh the negative, because it seems like from what I've seen, you've come down to LA, you made some really good friends in K and your female group, and then also really good friends with some of the other people at them. It seems worth it. It seems really cool, despite there's always going to be negativity, but I mean, like that part seems just to be so huge. So I hope that's the experience that you are having. But
yeah, absolutely. There have been so many opportunities too that have come from this. Like I did a CCS shoot recently, and that's because Matt Price, who did the photos for the weekend collaboration, like I had met him through that. He reached out to me about CCS, and then I was part of CCS. It's all like it's all something that's happened because of skating, and it's just like opportunity after opportunity has been hitting me, and that's something that I've never had before.
CCS is the skateboard shop, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So CCS
just for people who don't
skateboard. Right. So, and when that, that photo shoot came out, I got some hate comment of some guy that was like, this this brand has been notorious for, you know, hating bladers and all this in the past. Like, why would you be doing this? It's all just for the bag. Like, it's all just for money. And it's like, okay, yeah, I do want to get paid for things that I'm doing that I'm passionate about, but also like, why do you keep that mindset? If you see something happening, you know, he was saying in the past, like in the 90s or whatever. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, this is 2023. Why would you keep that mindset? And like, why
Right.
wouldn't you see this as progression? You know, that they would, someone that doesn't even skateboard in one of their, you know, shoots or, you know, promotional videos or something like that. It's like, why would you see that as a negative thing and not just as like something that is getting better in the communities?